Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, a Pittsburgh Steelers podcast made by fans like you, for fans like you. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. I'm your host, Joe Kuzma, and joining me today, making this a special edition, is none other than Steel Dad himself, Marc Uhlmann, co-owner of Steel City Blitz. Marc, how are you doing today?
I'm great. I don't know how I warrant special show consideration, but I'm grateful for it, Joe. Thank you.
Every time that you are on the show, it is special, Marc. I'm not going to kid you there. I told you the last time that you were on that the previous time was the best show ever, and that's what we aim for each time, right?
And no reason not to keep aiming for that, Joe. Let's do it, man.
No, we're really flying by the seat of our pants. We're on a mini bye, just like the Steelers are. I don't think I've cut a show since Black Friday. I had my fill of turkey. The tryptophan got to me. The gravy got to me. The leftovers got to me. And I think I'm fully recovered from that and shopping. And now we're ready to talk some Steelers football. Going to have the normal Giants preview edition or episode coming up in the next couple of days. But right now, we're just looking ahead to see what the rest of the 2016 season has to bring to us. And let's just look back. We're going to talk about some things we're excited about. Of course, I think we're excited having beat up on the Browns and the Colts in pretty somewhat dominating fashion. But I had one little earmarked note here to talk about the most disappointing loss so far this season. I'll let you kick off with this one, Marc. What was the most disappointing loss to you?
You know, this is a good question, and I've had debates, discussions, whatever you want to call it, with numerous Steelers fans about that, you know, because unfortunately there are a few to choose from. And you know, they're all painful in their own unique way, but the one that really troubled me was the loss at Baltimore. And it just, part of the reason why was because both teams were coming off the bye, and both Harbaugh and Tomlin had pretty good records doing that. And I just felt like this was an opportunity for us to try to reassert some dominance. I think our talent overall is better. But I just was incredibly disappointed that day with just not only how things unfolded, but it didn't seem like everybody was on the same page. You know, we gave up a few plays. The blocked punt comes back to mind, where guys just weren't doing their jobs, and the effort just didn't seem to be there. So for me, that was far and away the one that bothered me the most.
And you know what? You stole mine. I
we should have talked ahead of time.
Yeah, I should have went first. No, absolutely. I mean, that one really hurts. Losing to Baltimore hurts. It's been hurting. I'm with you here. The Baltimore offense is not good. Having Mike Wallace of all people get that biggest Ravens play ever in their history thing on our rookie corner first rounder that I'm feeling really good about. We'll talk more about Artie Burns here in a moment. But yeah, all of that sucked, man. And it's just, they always seem to get the Steelers when we're at our worst, when we're down. Now,
well, yeah, I think that's a good point. You know, Ben was coming off of an injury, and we know his history in games where he returns from injury, and you know, right now it's just I think Harbaugh and the defensive coordinator Dean Pease, they're finding something that we do offensively, and they're able to nip it in the bud. And until Todd Haley and Tomlin figure out what it is, I just continue to see some struggles. And the only outlier really out of that was of course the big game Ben had a couple of years ago against them at home, but it's been a troubling pattern.
Yeah, I mean and the other outlier here is the terrible game with Ryan Mallett, but they seem to always luck out. They didn't face Le'Veon Bell at all, like over the last year or so. go. They didn't see him last year. They didn't see him in the playoffs when we had that home game. You had Ben Tate, who we were having a little internal SCU team discussion yesterday that I bled out on the Twitter, and I was tweeting some random just kind of I was being a troll, I was being a smart ass, and I put some pictures of like LeGarrette Blount and Ben Tate out there and Jacoby Jones. We're talking about like some of the really bad additions that have been on the teams, just the ones that we really hate. Now, I hate Blount because he sabotaged us, but in fact, if he would have stayed with this team, maybe that game isn't that bad loss that we had at home in the playoffs, and then the Ravens get a banged up Roethlisberger this time. They're not at full strength. We saw what might have been in that fourth quarter had they been able to do anything, and of course penalties, and they're just beating themselves. So that's definitely disappointing. I know you were at the Cowboys game as well. Is that correct?
I was, and look, it was disappointing. Don't get me wrong. Anytime you got a loss, I mean, and as I've told numerous people who knew I was there, their first comment is always, "Boy, you saw a real exciting game." And I said, "Yeah." I said, if I'm an average fan, I saw maybe the game of the year. It just happens that we lost, and that's why it's so damn disappointing.
Yeah, it's so deflating. I mean, you're there, you're biting all your fingernails off through my gloves. It was the largest crowd in Heinz Field history. And you just had this feeling that they were going to pull it off, and then when they didn't, currently the best team in the NFL, I think that would have changed a lot of opinions about this team. But as it stands, most people are just looking at the box scores, at the stats, at the W's and the L's on the schedule. And I think the Steelers competing with the Cowboys there is telling of how this season should go forward. And I guess what we're all wondering is, can the Steelers win out? I don't think they need to win out, but I think they can win out. Do you feel the same way?
I do. I'm right with you on that. Can win out? Absolutely. Will win out? I'm not ready to say that. I think they've got a very interesting test coming this Sunday. I think they can afford to lose one more. Perhaps this week, just because it's an NFC game and it really doesn't matter in terms of tiebreakers unless you go way, way down. But I like the way they're playing right now, but I keep coming back to this little caveat that, okay, they've beaten Cleveland and they've beaten, Indianapolis without Andrew Luck. So I try to temper my expectations a little bit. And that's why I think this week against a very solid Giants team that's fighting, to stay with the Cowboys, I think this is going to be a good test for us.
Yeah, and you know what? It's very strange, and we've had a number of articles, as have you guys over on Steel City Blitz, about the upcoming schedules, and even just looking back at some of the injuries that have derailed the Steelers. I mean, the Ravens game in particular, Marquise Pouncey getting hurt, that threw off a lot. I think Ben was a little nervous coming back so quickly from the knee injury. Baltimore's a good run defense, so you just can't just give it to Le'Veon Bell. Like, I think they were trying to protect Ben there for a little bit too. You have Sammy Coates, who's been the deep threat. We saw now there's bright spots, even though it is Indianapolis. We've seen Ladarius Green, we've seen Sammy Coates start to get open downfield, and if anything, maybe took that pressure off of Antonio Brown, maybe to score 3 touchdowns in that game. But when you lose guys like Ryan Shazier for part of the season, and you see what happens, they were a mess defensively against the Eagles. I think that had a lot to do with it. The same with Timmons there. Ben gets hurt against Miami, and you even have Landry Jones under center against the Patriots, and they gave the Patriots one heck of a game too. If only they could have been able to stop the run. They were playing this chess match now where I think they figured out what to do with Lawrence Timmons when it comes to any type of sub packages or third downs. They're just going to leave him in there and let him run off the edge. And it's just I don't know. I don't know if I'm being like blindly optimistic about this, but I look ahead. The Giants are a good test. You've got the Buffalo Bills on the road, which is going to be like a home game. Even Cincinnati, for that matter, now. I bet they're fire sailing tickets down there. Those fans are always fickle, and now that team, 3-7-1, just that's probably more of a shocker than any team's record other than Cleveland not being able to win at all. And of course, Cleveland's on the schedule again, and they control their own fate. They could beat the Ravens heads up and even this thing out, even if they both end up with the same record. However, Baltimore, They have to face the 7-4 Miami Dolphins,
Yes.
New England Patriots in New England.
Yep.
And then they also have the Eagles, who did drop a close game the other night. They have, of course, the Steelers game on Christmas, and then, of course, the Bengals at the end of the season in Cincinnati. And Cincinnati,
Yep.
much like we were talking about Baltimore owning Pittsburgh over the last few seasons, it's not a gimme there either, no matter if the Bengals still only have 3 wins on their record throughout until the final week of the season. Cincinnati has pretty much owned the Ravens for the last 2-3 years, with exception of the game that was just played. So you see the Ravens have a very rocky road ahead, and unless the Steelers lay an egg and just forget how to play football, which we have seen, and we know we have that gut feeling about it. I don't know that they need to run the table. I look at the 4 AFC games in December. I look at the 3 division games that end the schedule. I look at Mike Tomlin and what he's done to finish seasons. The last 3, he's been 6-2 in all 3 of the last seasons. And I could see the same thing happening here again. Maybe they take 1 loss here or there. Could be on the road. Could be the ones you could probably afford. Sunday, you don't want to lose at home, but the Giants game being not in the AFC, not a conference game, and then maybe the Buffalo Bills, because you really can't afford to lose these division games, because the Ravens, the only teams they're beating are the teams in the AFC North.
Yeah. Well, I think when you kind of look at everything, I agree with you in terms of these division games and their importance. And in a weird way, it almost seems like the fact that the Steelers are really kind of stuck in the position where they can only make the playoffs by winning the division. Because when you look at the West and you look at the East right now, both, New England, Miami are both better records than we have. And then you got the 3 teams out West with better records than we have. The South isn't going to put anybody out except a division champion. So it's kind of going to be the same for us. And so, therefore, I almost think it's kind of like, Mike Tomlin can walk in that locker room every day and say, guys, this is what's at stake. This is what's on the line. This is what you have to do. Let's go do it. And, even a loss to Buffalo isn't going to matter a whole lot unless they get suddenly really hot and close on Miami there. But I agree with you. I think we can afford one. I hate to lose a home game, especially. So I guess if we had to, I'd rather lose the Buffalo game. But it sure would be nice, Joe, just to get on a nice run here, keep this confident defense going. They've really picked up their confidence in the last couple weeks. Especially these young guys. I think Burns and Hargrave and Davis have all played a little bit better the last couple weeks, and so I'm more than happy if they can just run this sucker right out.
Yeah, and I love all these first and second year guys that we're going to touch on here in a second. But I'm thinking, I look at this schedule, I think the one thing that worries me the most, and it's something I don't think anyone has thought of. I mean, we were just discussing Buffalo, we're discussing the New York Giants. You have a Cincinnati team that has nothing to lose, and you have to go down to Cincinnati and play them. And the difference here being they have Vontaze Burfict this time, and he's up to his same antics again. He's getting fined. He's flipping people off. He's taking a dive against Steve Smith, which of all people I thought that was hilarious, and just the wrong guy. Maybe Steve Smith might take a swing at you. I mean, that's so. The thing that worries me is that you're going to have this head case come out and injure someone like Le'Veon Bell or Antonio Brown again, with no window of opportunity for those guys to return, because that's going to be the third of these 5 games. It's right in the middle. You're going to have the turnaround time, maybe a week heading into playing the Baltimore Ravens, which could be for all the marbles. So that's the one that worries me the most. I'm going to put an asterisk on that and say Vontaze Burfict worries me the most of the games remaining on the schedule.
I'll be honest. It does concern me only because of the Vontaze Burfict angle. Obviously, Ben has had great success in Cincinnati as the Steelers have in general. So that doesn't bother me much at all. But you're absolutely right. I mean, I'm almost sitting here hoping that Burfict, who now I think 2 weeks in a row has done some pretty stupid stuff, I'm almost hoping he just gets himself, kicked out for the rest of the year by doing something this week or next before we get a chance to play him. And the way he's going, I have no reason to think he won't. But no, that is a concern. I mean, the NFL has made this huge effort to make the game safer and everything, but yet we've got this guy going out there and basically he's become some type of a thug bounty hunter type guy that just doesn't care anymore and is going to take out whoever he takes out. And that's a huge concern for a team that's trying to make the playoffs.
Yeah, he's certainly mental, and I remember, I'm trying to think now who I replied to on Twitter. It may have been like Jim Wexel or someone, and he says, is there anyone left besides Marvin Lewis that would defend Vontaze Burfict in his behavior? And I said, well, of course, Paul Gunther. I mean, he's the guy. In fact, he's the one that's probably carrying that torch more than anyone else. So that game does worry me a little bit, but getting back on track, we were talking about the first and second year players, both sides of the ball, newcomers and guys that are contributing. And I'm excited about just about everybody. I guess I can't just pick out one, but we have a number of players. We have the three top draft picks for this year. You got Artie Burns. You've got Sean Davis, who's just looking great. I mean, playing every snap over the last 2 games. You have Javon Hargrave, who that's the guy I was probably rooting for the most, being a small college guy, and having him play in Cam Hayward's stepping up into that position and playing as a defensive end rather than a sub-package tackle has been probably I'm trying to think of the right words here, but I want to say pleasantly surprised, but this is about where my expectation was. And just seeing him fight off the guys, he shot the gap in that Indianapolis game. I've replayed that about 20 times, bare minimum. He gets double teamed by the center, and I believe it was the left guard after lining up on the tackle. And just muscles through both of them, takes a dive and grabs Scott Tolzien by the ankle and sacks him. And it's just that hustle. And then there was a very similar play that started the game where he fought off of his block, immediately recognizes that the running back comes in to throw a block, and it was one of those little let's block and release type deals, and chased him down. And so Javon is definitely my biggest one, but there's some other guys on this team contributing. Anthony Chiquillo, and then of course on the offense, we're hoping Sammy Coates comes back. Ladarius Green, starting to look as advertised as well. Who's the guy that you're most excited about?
Well, it was Hargrave, and it was the play that you indicated, the way he sniffed out that screen. That's just something that rookies. I mean, you might see rookie linebackers do that just because that's such an instinctual position. But to see a defensive lineman sniff it out as well as he did, and the ability to run that guy down, it was just incredible. And it kind of told me, okay, I think this kid has really started to get into a comfort zone here. I think when he came into the league, he's really been kind of out of position. I don't see him as a true nose. He's more of like this 3 technique guy, and now as you mentioned, you see John Mitchell using him kind of all over the place now, and I just love his attitude. I love his hustle. I mean, he's just a guy like you said. You just have to root for this guy, And that said, I mean, Burns is. Just flown by my expectations this year, far and away. This was a guy I did not think we were going to see a whole lot of. I thought we'd see him on special teams. I thought we'd see him in a few, special packages in the secondary. But, I mean, this kid has solidified that he is a starting cornerback now. He keeps getting better and better, and his tackling has actually improved over the course of the season, too. So, I mean, it's really hard to say anything negative about any of these guys because they are all doing what you want them to do as rookies, and that's improve.
Yeah, and you know what? I totally agree about Burns. I once again, sometimes I get on these little Twitter rants, and I tweeted out something like, over the last few drafts, linebacker, we want a corner. We take a corner, and then everyone's complaining about lack of having an edge rusher, and then they're complaining about the corner that we have. But it's pretty amazing to see the 2 starting corners. You have a guy that's a second-year player in this system that couldn't beat out Antoine Blake, who was the 3 3-time come on man candidate the other day. And then, Vincenzo, right? Is that what it is? Vincenzo Blake?
Is it Vincenzo? What is it? Valentino.
Valentino. That's what it was. That's what it was. Valentino. God, Vincenzo. Vincenzo's like a nickname. That's one of my friends. Never mind. Valentino Blake. I mean, you could, what's that? You could put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig. Is that
exactly
how that phrase went? I'm trying to think where that.
Excellent analogy in this case. Yes.
Yeah, but Cockrell wasn't. He wasn't playing over Antoine Valentino Vincenzo Blake last year, and so to see him kind of locking down one side and being highly graded, and then you also see the guy who's typically on the outside, but we all know plays better on the slot. William Gay kind of almost take a demotion here, and he's playing excellent ball as well. What was it, like a 22 passer rating or whatever I saw from Pro Football Focus for everything that was thrown his way in the Colts game? He was the highest ranked Steelers defender. I know that much. He was in the low 90s or something, like 92 or something like that. And of course, Burns. I don't think they called Burns' name like once the entire game. It was almost like he wasn't there, and that's kind of what you want from a corner, is they just go unnoticed. They're not even going to throw the ball on his side of the field, so he was definitely doing his job as well. And then, of course, you're talking about moving Javon and J-Wobble all over the field. They kind of do the same thing with Sean Davis, too, and he's capable of lining up and actually covering someone as a corner and as well, manning up. So, actually, unfortunately, saw that happen. That was the Ezekiel Elliott winning touchdown when he lined up over Davis did on Des Bryant. So that kind of took Davis out of that play, and we all know he was trying to rip for the ball, and a lot of people had some animosity over that penalty, and it's a sorry way to lose, but sometimes those are the things. You're a call or a play away from the game being yours, won or lost. So it's just something that bygones be bygones. We've seen Anthony Chiquillo. We're talking about this outside linebacker rotation, and Mike Tomlin in his press conference said he can't have 5 guys in the rotation. They're trying to narrow it down, and initially, they came into training camp, Joey Porter talking about Bud Dupree getting however many sacks, double-digit sacks, and how they weren't going to use rotation at all. It's going to be interesting to see, because I have this gut feeling that Arthur Moats or Jarvis Jones could be the odd man out. There's even some rumor-mongering that Jarvis Jones won't even get a helmet on Sunday, which I find a little hard to believe, but you never know. I like what I see. Anthony Chiquillo, he's getting the most reps of everyone else. He outsnapped James Harrison by 1 play in the Colts game, but he's getting in there too. Strip sacks, knocking the ball loose, kind of getting it all done. And a lot of people forget, 6th-round pick, second-year player. Talking about the same thing with Ross Cockrell being a guy who wasn't much in this system. You combine it with Burns, Davis, and Hargrave, and that's 5 players on your defense that are very young, inexperienced men that may be coming into their own now.
Yeah, I think Chiquillo is coming on a lot. I think there are times when his inexperience shows. He tends, when he rushes the passer, he can go past well past the quarterback, allowing him to step up in the pocket a little too easily. He'll learn from James Harrison, how to throttle down, how to use that dip move, to take those better angles. And I think for a kid that was a former defensive end, I think you have to be pretty happy. I think he's got work to do in terms of being more consistent and stopping the run, but he's pretty darn good when he drops into coverage, and he closes very quickly. But so he's fine. And the piece you just mentioned about Jarvis Jones, you want to talk about a guy who's looking at his last few games in Pittsburgh, and maybe not getting a helmet. I mean, my gosh, how the mighty, or at least the prospective mighty, has fallen in his case. And Moats is an interesting guy. He doesn't make plays, and then all of a sudden here he comes and he makes a huge sack or something. I really think the last couple of weeks they've had a nice rotation, but I do agree with Mike Tomlin. You don't want to be stuck with a 5-man type rotation. You've got to get really a nice 3-man thing going, spelling guys just enough. And I think Harrison is the one guy who has benefited from a little bit of rotation there. At his age, he's not going to give you everything he's got for every single play. So if you can limit what he has and use him situationally, then I think he's that much better. But, Chiquillo, definitely, going back to him, he excites me for the future because I know he hangs around James Harrison quite a bit. I've heard he's in his pocket in the weight room a lot, and he is constantly asking questions and things like that. And Debo seems to be mentoring him a great deal. That's a pretty good guy to have teaching you stuff.
Yeah, and that's as opposed to all the rumors of Jarvis Jones not traveling out to work out with Harrison and taking that invite and those type of things. And actually, I wish I had it handy, and I don't right now, but somebody did an analysis on that entire first round and all the pass rushers, and I think of all the guys taken, like they've pretty much all been flops. So maybe that gives the Steelers a little bit of a pass, and of course their second-round picks haven't been all too bad when you get like a Le'Veon Bell or a Stephon Tuitt in the second round. So I guess you're not going to nail them all, but what we're going to try and do, we're running short on time here, so I'm not going to talk about the Fire Tomlin comments just yet. We're going to hold on to those and see what happens. I didn't really want to give those any credence anyways, but talking about nailing the number, and I don't know if you got the details in front of you for this, or if you want me to roll with it. I have it here too.
It's Nail the Number is the brainchild of a longtime Steeler fan and good friend, and he's wanted to do this, and basically each week we give two different goals that you have to guess correctly on. This week's Nail the Number came out this morning, and you have to guess the combined total receptions for Antonio Brown and Odell Beckham Jr. And then the second marker or second goal is you have to guess the total yards given up by the Steelers defense, and we'll give you plus minus 5 either way. So nobody has hit it yet throughout the season. We're into week 11, week 12 here. The pot is now up to $2,100. And if you nail the number, meaning you get both of those right, you win that money. But this couple of weeks, we're also throwing in some tickets to a game, and also a Steelers backpack that's been signed by Cam Hayward and Le'Veon Bell. So it's just been a really exciting thing. We've gotten a lot of people interested in doing this, and it doesn't cost you a darn thing. All you got to do is be on Twitter, and you got to tweet at @nailthenumber1 and at SC Blitz, and we'd like you to use the hashtag #nailthenumber, and just check it out. It's on our website. It's under the Voice of the Fan category, but it's been really cool, Joe. We've had a lot of fun with this, and last week we had several people really, really close. They actually hit on the first marker, and we're just off of the second one.
Wow. Well, you never know, man. I mean, this sounds pretty good to me, at least when I'm on Twitter and I find it and I try to remember. I'm even bad with DraftKings. I didn't even play in our own. We have a Steel City Underground DraftKings league. Yes, folks, if you're on the daily fantasy sports thing and you want to play some of us on DraftKings, I did not even enter it. And I think our league it was only like $1. And we try not to make it too big because sometimes we don't fill the league and then it doesn't play. So I actually forgot it. So if I screwed us up this week, Eric, I know you put that out there and I screwed you up by not entering it. But, hey, I won some money on Thanksgiving. I'll say that much, But anyways, Nail the Number. It's free to do. They have a new Twitter handle. It's at Nail the Number with the number 1. Nail the Number 1. And you have to do – you don't really have to jump through hoops. Just make sure that you're tweeting Nail the Number 1 and SC Blitz, and you use that hashtag Nail the Number. Get it in by 8 p.m. Eastern Time Saturday night. That'll enter you for a chance to win this pot of $2,100, a signed book bag, and possibly some game tickets as well. And it just continues to get better and better as this is turning into like the Powerball now.
It's crazy. Yeah, it is. It's when we decided to do this, we knew it was going to be hard to win, but we kind of automatically assumed, somebody's just going to get lucky. They're going to hit it. And it was funny because we were texting back and forth last week at the end of the Colts game, and pretty much the play that screwed these folks that had it was when the Steelers chose to throw. Landry Jones dropped back to throw, and I want to say it was towards Jesse James, had they run the ball and picked up 4 or 5 yards, somebody was going to win right there. So whoever that poor person was that is going to hate Todd Haley for the rest of their life, I apologize.
And you know what? That's funny because if you ever hear any of these stories, speaking of DraftKings, of these people that win like the millionaire tournaments and stuff, and they win $1 million, they're always talking about watching these games and somebody drops a pass that they're watching, like the person that's right behind them or close to them, and somebody drops a pass and they end up winning, and they're like, they're just screaming crazy because somebody dropped the pass or somebody caught a pass or runs it in and scores or whatever be the case. So definitely look for Nail the Number. Also look for Marc, a.k.a. Steel Dad, at Steel Dad on Twitter, and SC Blitz, at SC Blitz, Steel City Blitz on Twitter as well. Marc, always good to have you on. Thanks for taking some time out of your day to shoot the breeze about some Steelers football.
Hey, Joe, thanks as always for having me on. It's always my pleasure, and let's hope the Steelers deliver a nice, solid home victory over a good Giants team this weekend.
Hey, I could look forward to nothing else. Thanks again. And for everyone else, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for making the Steel City Underground podcast. Well, we've had the most unique listeners once again for another consecutive month of November. A lot of folks, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for listening. Until next time, be safe, be good, and I will catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.